This is the Superpowered Mind podcast for inquiring individuals who are tired of the struggle for peace, happiness, and clarity. I'm Claire Diamond, ready to help you explore the principles of the mind, the self, and reality to unlock ultimate mental freedom. This podcast is the one to listen to if you're ready to experience the capabilities of the superpowered mind. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 19, and today we're looking at something that I say very often, which a client recently asked about, which is, this is the only conversation to be in. And I do say that a lot, and I say it a lot because the understanding of what the mind is, of what reality is, of what the self or the identity is, of what is true, of what the mind is capable of creating, and of how the body responds to that. All of that is liberation for the mind, and it's the space in which the experience of being aligns to what we really are, to what is really true. And I think it's not, I'm not saying that everyone has to be in this conversation. I'm saying that when there is suffering and struggle, and when the mind is exhausted in rumination, in trying to control, when it looks like there has to be a real vigilance about how we're perceived and how people respond to us, when it looks like the images of the future are absolutely true, and when it looks like I'm a product of my past, all of these are indications that anything else other than this conversation is going to be an attempt to secure that vulnerable identity that is made of fear, shame, lack, need, insecurity. And the search will be powerful because it's a search to take the identity home. You know, it's known, like it's known in our bones, in our cells, that what we are is living intelligence. What we are is consciousness. What we are is beingness. What we are is pure presence. And yet the mind, in the grip of its belief system, in the grip of its, its past losses, maybe its past traumas, its conditioning, is trying to find home, trying to find peace and freedom and bliss through its unquestioned setup of reality of self and reality of the world, of other people. So it's trying to find home through its conviction of separation. And how this plays out is that if I can secure me, if I can secure this separate individual, this separate entity that I believe myself to be, then I'll be liberated, then I'll be free and stable and strong, and I'll feel good again. But that's an impossible task. And, it's literally impossible to find wholeness through separation, find wholeness through boosting separation, focusing on separation, through all actions, all thought becomes obsessed with securing this separation, all in the attempt to find wholeness. Impossible. And everything just gets worse and worse. And so from that perspective, we'll do all sorts of things. We'll go into all sorts of different relationships, different jobs, different environments. We'll go on, we'll treat our health in a certain way. We'll maybe go on different courses, self-help things, therapy perhaps, all in an attempt to secure this separate identity. And all of it is creating more and more confusion. Because it might give this is the thing, these things that are being done might give temporary relief. If it looks like this insecurity is going to be made better, made more stable through my job, through recognition in my job, because that's my conditioning, the worth of me is the job, is how people perceive me professionally. There might well be mini rewards along the way. There might be a promotion or a praise from a boss or something, but those are so temporary and they reconfirm the search. They say, oh, this relief, this feeling of relaxing, finally, I'm worthy, I'm valid. It lasts for 1 second until a coworker gets the promotion instead of me, or someone else gets praised and I get a bit criticized, and the whole thing is destabilized all over again. So these mini confirmations of the identity reconfirm this unfulfillable search that the mind is on. And so a lot of people come on my courses still, of course, because that's no one's ever told anyone differently, come on the courses with a agenda to secure the identity, to secure themselves in separation. And that really means to control emotions, control how other people respond to them, to control experiences, to guarantee a certain future, to get rid of past memories. That's the agenda. And nothing else looks any good other than that. That's the driving motivation. And so someone comes on the course, and on the course we're saying that agenda is never going to be achieved. Point blank, ever, never. There's no possibility of securing that separate image of what I am. And so very understandably, very naturally, the stress that was related, was the outcome of that search to secure the unsecurable, gets worse. So someone comes on my course, they hear words that maybe no one's ever said before. You are on an unachievable mission. This quest for survival of an imaginary you, a mental construct of you, is impossible. It's never going to be achieved. And so there's more stress, because now that quest, that imaginary avatar, is under intense threat. Really, like the thing that was the mission, the whole mission of life, is being threatened. And so very naturally, some symptoms ramp up and get worse. Stress becomes worse. And that's good. And I know it doesn't feel good for that person whose whole life endeavor is to get rid of symptoms, to get rid of certain emotions. But this is the start now of a mind that is, instead of trying to control everything that relates to this idea of what we are and of how things should be, starts to notice, starts to witness, starts to see this fluidity of emotion, this of what the mind creates in this narrative of how a body goes into fight and flight when the idea of what we are is threatened. And it's so powerful to be in this conversation and to start to see what the mind creates and how the body reacts in response. And that then is the start of sanity. It's the start of liberation. It's the moment in which there is a glimmer of truth, and that glimmer is really a light that all inquiry can follow. Because now this is about inquiry. This is really profoundly about the enormous questions of existence, of what we are. Nothing now is taken at surface level. Nothing is face value. This is profoundly what turning this incredible resource of human intellect towards the questions that will set its own self free. And that now marks the beginning of the end of this unfulfillable search. And really, it starts opening up so much. It starts opening up the capacity to have whatever emotional experience is going on in that moment. And that's pure health. So the ability to have whatever emotions are there without now having to numb them or distract away from them or blame them on someone else to try to avoid any sort of accountability. This opening up to emotional storms is incredibly healthy for the human body and incredibly healthy in terms of the habits that attempt to control emotions was maintaining. So behaviors start to shift now. The mind's capacity to understand concepts such as the past, the future, other people, all of it is set free, is liberated from this belief system, this rigid belief system that was maintaining this story of me through shame of the past and through fear of the future, is now disappearing. And what remains is a mind that is pure presence, because that's what the mind is, witnessing the capabilities of creation and destruction. So creation as in what the mind can imagine, and destruction as in what the mind can analyze so profoundly that it disappears, it dissolves away. So for those of us who are suffering, those of us whose minds revolve continually around the protection of this me, this vulnerability of this central me that has to be secured, this is the only conversation. Because otherwise, there will be a desperate attempt for the whole of the rest of our lives to secure that identity. And all of those attempts are just making it more vulnerable, more confirmed in its shame and need and fear and lack. So welcome, those of you who are listening to this. We're in the right place. There is not a single doubt about that. This inquiry into what we are and what is true, what reality is the only place to be. And not least, and we'll look at this in next week's, it marks the start of an impersonal existence, an impersonal living that is our birthright. Yeah, so thank you for being here, everyone. Lots of love. Bye. Thank you for listening to Superpowered Mind with me, Claire Diamond. If you want extra support in the exploration of your mind, download our exclusive subliminal recording, especially for podcast listeners, on bit.ly/podcast subliminal.